Greetings to all, and welcome to the Jamaica Diaspora Show. My name is Mark Millward of the West Indian Social Club of Hartford, and I'm your host. The Jamaica Diaspora Show is aimed at providing viewers with coverage of diaspora news and activities in a variety of areas, including business, arts, health, education, entertainment, politics, immigration, trade, and investment. Our first show featured an exclusive interview with the Most Honorable Andrew P. Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, who talked about the Economic Growth Council and harnessing the power of the diaspora. Tune in for more coverage in the future on the activities of the Economic Growth Council and diaspora engagement. Hartford, Connecticut is the third largest population of Jamaicans in the United States, behind Miami and New York. We intend to provide our viewing audience with global diaspora perspectives and coverage from the US, UK, Canada, Jamaica, and of course the Caribbean. Please join us weekly, Saturdays at 2 p.m. and Sundays at 3 p.m. on Hartford Public Access Television, providing global television network coverage at www.hpatv.org. Greetings, and welcome to the Jamaica Diaspora Show. My name is Mark Millward, and today my guest is Reverend Andrew Bennett. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Millward.
Reverend Bennett is the chairman of the Jamaica Diaspora Elections Committee for the Northeast. He is also the chairman of the faith-based sector for the Northeast for the Jamaica Diaspora. And Reverend Bennett is also the chairman of the Jamaica Diaspora Day of Prayer. Quite a few roles you have there, Reverend.
Yes,
Can you talk about your role as the chairman of the Jamaica Diaspora Elections Committee?
Yes, so as you know, the diaspora movement is divided over several regions in the world. Mm-hmm. And the United States as a nation has about 3 or 4 regions.
Okay.
The Northeast is one of the regions, that is the region we are in, and that constitutes somewhere about 13 states, including the New York metropolis, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, Vermont, and New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and a couple others. Over these states in the Jamaica diaspora, we have a leader, and this leader is responsible to represent the Northeast diaspora in Jamaica and to advise, along with the other regional leaders, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, on matters concerning the diaspora. Now, at this time, we are endeavoring to re-elect the leader, which is called the advisory board member. And there is a committee that is established to do that, of which I'm chairman. And at this time, we are nominating, and elections will be soon to follow.
Now I do want to examine the election criteria.
Yes.
But let's get back to that, because I also want to talk about your other roles. You have other roles.
Yes.
The aim of this show is to focus on the election, but I want to cover some of the other areas that you've been working on as chairman, particularly the role that you serve as faith-based. Can you talk about that?
Well, on the various diaspora committees that oversee the work of diasporans are several sectors. Among them is the faith-based sector. So you have, for instance, the health sector, you have policy and other sectors, and the faith-based sector is one of them. In this sector, what we are trying to do is to mobilize the church. And in so doing, we believe that the church has a role to play both in diaspora development and in diasporans engaging in nation building in Jamaica. And so the vision is to mobilize the church to do what it can and what it does best in community development, and to have that mobilization affect positively the growth and development of Jamaicans in Jamaica.
So I could certainly see the tie-in with your role as being very important as far as the election focus.
Absolutely.
You also have a role as the chairman of the Jamaica Diaspora Day of Prayer.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about that?
Well, the Jamaica Diaspora Day of Prayer and Fasting came about from a group of clergy in the diaspora 13 years ago under the leadership and oversight of the Reverend Dr. Sam Vassell. The concern was that Jamaica had become the murder capital of the world, and in so doing, we believed that there was something that we could do here in the diaspora as clergy. Though we were not in Jamaica, we felt somewhat of an immigrant guilt, and like Nehemiah in the Bible, the biblical text, we became very concerned about what was going on in Jamaica. And one of the things we thought we could do that could be very effective against the crime and violence or whatever else was happening in Jamaica is to pray. And we started in the New York metropolis to mobilize pastors and churches to pray during Emancipation Day, or thereabout, within a few days of Emancipation Day. And the rationale is that it is ironic that we are celebrating emancipation, freedom from physical slavery, when it seems as though there is a kind of spiritual slavery that is being engaged, in that there is this spirit of murder that has hit our country and doing serious damage. And we believe that we could intercede on behalf of Jamaica in the diaspora to pray for that relief from the murder. At the time, we were seen as a murder capital in the world, and I am happy to say that since we have begun to pray 13 years ago, we have seen a decrease in the murder rate.
Well, crime and security in the country is a major concern. It's a primary concern.
Yes.
Can you talk about the task forces that have been developed to address that, and how the church has interfaced with the task force?
Yes, in a limited fashion I could answer to that, in the sense that while I'm not a part of the crime task force that has been recently established, I am reliably informed by one of the members that there is a move afoot on the crime task force to have a faith-based representative in the diaspora to engage the church. And I believe that there is some correlation and there will be some partnerships formed between Jamaica Diaspora Day of Prayer and also the crime task force that is now seemingly doing a lot in terms of studying the problem and making recommendations as to how we can relieve the crime and violence situation in Jamaica. I believe that the church is pivotal in this regard because, as you know, a lot of what is happening has to do with deportees that return to Jamaica, bringing back a certain brand of crime and violence, which the government is not altogether prepared to address. And we believe that if the church can do its work here with Jamaicans who migrate from Jamaica in our various communities, then we will alleviate and reduce the deportation rate. I believe, and we'll talk, I hope, about the role of the church more specifically, but I believe that the church's responsibility is in, working with families when, they migrate to the United States, to somewhat give them some orientation to what America brings and to help the families to adjust so that children are not left behind as latchkey children and hence become a problem, grow up in the system and fall afoul of the law and end up being deported. So we believe that we can affect it directly as in that regard. Of course, our primary focus too will be prayer, because we do believe that God answers prayer. And if we continue, Jamaica is indeed a Christian country. And I believe that, even though some people say it's a quasi-truth, I believe that Jamaica is a Christian country and that we will pray and God will answer the need for crime alleviation in our nation.
No, there was recently, I believe, several months ago, a Jamaica Diaspora Christian Conference.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Well, I know that the conference was under the auspices of Reverend Bruce Fletcher, and I know that there was some interface with the umbrella group of churches in Jamaica and members of the clergy over the wider diaspora in the US, in the UK, and in Canada. As to the outcome of the conference, I am not up to date on that, but I would imagine that in the future there could be some correlation. And that is one of my concerns with the diaspora, that there is not much collaboration among the task force, the initiatives, and much organization. And I would like to see overall that we have a more direct approach that includes strategically all the various facets of aid and help and intervention in Jamaica, so that the right hand can indeed know what the left hand is doing, and we can work as a team. So to directly to your question, I'm not so sure of the outcome of the conference, but we were aware of the conference. We were invited, but at that time we could not have participated from the Northeast, particularly JDOP and JDNE.
Well, Reverend Bennett, I'm going to take a break right now, and when we come back, I want to get into more detail about the various roles that you have. You have a wide range of responsibilities. I want to examine, the election of the upcoming Jamaica Diaspora election. I want to examine the role of the church. Yes. and the role the church has the important role that the church has to play in the diaspora.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about that, some of the details, Reverend Bennett, as to
yes.
the nominees and that whole process?
Yes. So for the election, we have nominations are already open. So nominations opened on April 15th, and the nomination will continue until May 14th. In fact, it was supposed to have been May 6th, but we had to extend it to give everybody a chance to get their nominations in. So we began on April 15th, and we will end on May 14th.
And so for those what is the nomination process? Can you describe the nomination process? How does that work?
Well, the nomination process is quite simple. In fact, what happens is that if one intends to nominate someone, the responsibility is to go to www.callingallJamaicans.org. So it's callingallJamaicans.org. Okay. And go to the announcement section, click on that, and it will take you to where we have the election information. There will be a button, a link for the nomination. When you go there, you're to click on that link, and it will walk you through the various steps in order to do the nomination process. In total, what is required is that each nominee will need to complete a couple things. First of all, they need to have a recent photograph. They need to send in a recent photograph as a part of the nomination process. They will need to complete a personal character fitness questionnaire. which will be on the site. They will also need to, the person who is nominating that person will need to be a reference for that person, and the character reference questionnaire will be completed by the person doing the referring. The nominee will have to do an essay of about, say, 500 words, indicating the reasons for which he or she would like to become the next ABM or the next future leader. And that is something I need to note, that the election covers 3 positions: the advisory board member, or ABM, the alternate advisory board member, and the future leader. So we're looking for an advisory board member, an alternate advisory board member, and a future leader. Now, the way the election operates, the person who is the second runner-up to the ABM leader will become the alternate, and the future leader election is separate.
Now the candidates, they must be Jamaican. What is the requirement there?
Well, there are some requirements there, and I would like to go over, first of all, the ABM. The ABM should be a Jamaican or of Jamaican heritage, or be eligible to hold Jamaican citizenship, or holds Jamaican citizenship.
Do they actually have to have citizenship? No.
Yes.
They have to
or eligible to hold citizenship.
Eligible.
A Jamaican eligible
Okay.
to hold citizenship.
So a second generation Jamaican, or a third a Jamaican that is not a first generation Jamaican can
Yes, absolutely.
apply.
Because as you know, to be eligible to hold citizenship, you just have to be able to prove your Jamaican lineage through either parent.
Okay.
So that is possible. So a third or fourth Jamaican could become, generation Jamaican could become an ABM,
Okay.
or future leader, or an alternate.
Okay.
Yes. And you must be a resident of any of the following states: Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Maryland, North Carolina. I'm sorry. Those are different states. The persons, that's the southeast states. In the northeast, it would be New Jersey, Connecticut, Philadelphia, Maryland, Virginia, Vermont, Massachusetts, DC, and all the northeastern states. So you must be a resident in order to be in the Northeast, to be the Northeast Diaspora, Diaspora ABM. You have to be a resident of one of these states.
Now your role as the chairman.
Yes.
Now, what about the Northeast? What about the West? Because there are 3.
Right.
Regions.
3 regions.
Are you have any oversight for the elections for those regions as well?
No. Actually, each region has a separate chair, and that is why I read that information, the southeast, southern regions information a while ago. That is because there is a sense in which we are collaborating.
Mm-hmm.
So the chairpersons for each region collaborate to bring the election to the various regions. And so we all know each other, we work together, planning and executing the election. So there is a election chair for the West,
Mm-hmm.
and there is one for the South.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So in terms of the criteria, continuing with that, the person must be honorable, trustworthy, of good moral standing within the community, have sound leadership qualities and organizational skills, have a good oral and written communication skills, have no criminal record, okay, knowledge and understanding of social, political, and economic issues in the USA and in Jamaica, and a record of active participation within the diaspora community, and be able to finance traveling to Jamaica and diaspora states. Okay, So those are the basic criteria for an ABM, an alternate ABM, and a future leader.
Now, you briefly covered, some of the role of representation of the ABM and the future leader. Can you talk more specifics about what their I know there's something called the terms of reference.
Yeah.
Can you talk more in detail what the Jamaica Diaspora Advisory Board member is supposed to do in terms
Yes.
of their responsibilities?
Absolutely. So first of all, the term of office is a period of 2 years, and the position is voluntary, and the persons will not receive any financial compensation. So we want to say that out front, that it don't pay, all right? But in terms of roles,
It doesn't pay money.
it doesn't pay money, but it rewards. It's
Yes.
rewarding, and I've seen where those rewards are imminent. But in terms of the roles and responsibility, the board member will be required to represent the interest of the Jamaican diaspora, that the Jamaican diasporans that reside here in the Northeast USA, and will represent these concerns to the minister responsible for diaspora affairs in the government of Jamaica.
And who is the minister that
The Honorable Kamina Smith, Johnson Smith, is the current Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and hence whoever the person is will be responsible to work with that minister. Formerly there was a Minister of State, but we do not at this time have a Minister of State. But so it is directly the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and I'm guessing that, I'm also thinking that the area in the Jamaican government that deals with diaspora matters will also interface with the ABM. Now, the person must be knowledgeable of about the diaspora, the strengths of the diaspora and the needs of the diaspora, and will be responsible to maintain a close working relationship with the Consulate General of Jamaica in New York, and with responsibility for the Northeast. The person must be a focal point for the receipt and dissemination of information that will be relevant to Jamaicans in the diaspora, and do so on a timely basis. The person will be responsible also to organize the Jamaican diaspora to participate in all meetings relevant to the diaspora, including the biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference in Jamaica. And as you know, there is one coming up in July 23rd through to the 26th. The person will be responsible to attend advisory board meetings and be prepared to initiate creative efforts for the well-being and development of the diaspora throughout the Northeast. And finally, the person will be responsible to develop and execute financial self-sufficiency. Again, because the diaspora is a movement, not an organization, and so the person would have to have that ability to sustain one's goings on in the diaspora movement from between Jamaica and here in the United States.
Well, some of the past inquiries with regards to the role and responsibility of the Jamaica Diaspora Advisory Board member has to do with the representation. Is the representation focus to represent the diaspora or to represent what the government is inquiring on? I mean, where is the representation?
Well,
some of it has been that the representation of that is conducted by the advisory board member is the advisory board member is responding to initiatives from the government and not the other way around.
Well, the role as it stands, and as you know, we are in the midst of a the policy development and policy review. But the role primarily is for the ABM to represent the strengths or the needs or concerns of the diaspora to the Jamaican government. There is to be much collaboration from the government through the ABM, but it must be understood that the diaspora is a movement. The Jamaican diaspora out here in the rest of the world is a movement, and therefore there is the responsibility to have a person that interfaces with the Jamaican government and the diasporans. So it is collaboration, it is networking, it is working together for the interests of diaspora development and also the Jamaican, the development of Jamaicans and Jamaica in Jamaica.
Okay. Now, you talked about the Jamaica Diaspora Advisory Board member, and you talked about the future leader. Can you tell us the difference between the two?
Well, the future leader is a younger version of the ABM. So one of the things we are trying to do is to endeavor to engage our youth. We particularly want to ensure that we have second and third and fourth generation Jamaicans in America and around the rest of the diaspora in Canada and the UK and wherever they are to participate in the development of the diaspora movement and in Jamaica itself. And so the future leader, in terms of the who can be a future leader, the criteria, the person must be a Jamaican of Jamaican heritage and be eligible to hold Jamaican citizenship, that meaning that the person is of Jamaican lineage, and a person that is under the age of 35, should be age 35 or under, to be a future leader. So the ABM is more the adult we are both adults, but over 35, 36 and older, and 35 and younger would be the future leader, hence the term. And the idea is to get the young people involved. You know, when we do that, we are really doing succession planning. You know, because after a while, when the older people come off the scene, then the younger people will be up to speed, so to speak, on what is happening in the diaspora and in Jamaica, and be able to take over and lead the rest and lead the diaspora. The criteria is similar as with before. They're accepting with the age difference. You know, so there will be representation to the government, advisory to the government on the issue of on the matters concerning youth, both in the diaspora and in Jamaica.
Well, I am aware that the Jamaica Diaspora Northeast region has a future leader.
Yes.
But the South and the West did not, or does not.
Wow. I'm not aware of the South and West not having a future leader, but yes, we do. In the person of Miss Erin Luhing, she's doing a fantastic job working with the children home in Jamaica, doing toy drives and care packages, and she works tirelessly to organize the young people here in the Northeast to give back to Jamaica. A fantastic job indeed. It's going to be very hard to replace Miss Luhing because she did set a good pace.
So is she going to continue as future leader, or are you aware of that?
Well, I could say, from my understanding, she's not up for re-election, if that's what you're asking.
Oh.
And so we are definitely looking to it's going to be young blood, in this election.
Can you talk about who are some of the nominees in the Northeast?
Well, we have not yet. We have a few. I have not yet been made aware totally of who they are. So we don't have that information just yet. we are going to be checking back sometime before our meeting on Monday as to who the nominees are, but the nominations are coming in.
And you need our current advisory board member. Do you want to identify our current?
Our current advisory board member is Joan Pinnock Esquire, and it is my belief that Joan has done a phenomenal job, to bring, to unite the Northeast in terms of the diaspora, to recognize a lot of what has happened. Sometimes, people work hard and nobody recognizes them. And one of the things the current ABM has endeavored to do is to have adequate and appropriate recognition. We did the awards banquet for those who gave enormously from the diaspora to Jamaica and to the diaspora, and along with other forms of initiatives. That has been good. One of the things that she has done, and it has developed into a task force. As you know, you might not know this, but Joan is an immigration attorney, and she has launched through the efforts out of the 6th Biennial Conference, the day of service. They went and they met with the deportees in Jamaica, and to ascertain what were some of the legal needs, if there were any that could be addressed by members of the diaspora. And true to form, what happened was that a task force was born out of that. And what has been happening is that Joan and her team have been going to Jamaica, meeting with persons in Jamaica who were illegally deported. And yes, there are persons who are deported and should not be deported. And they are returned, actually. She returned some of these deportees illegally deported. And now the Immigration Task Force is working assiduously to ensure that people are not wrongfully deported, and that people know their rights and understand the process, and are getting the kind of information and covering legal representation that they need. The task force has various initiatives. They have been moving around to various states, trying to sensitize people to immigration issues. So there are a number of things that Ms. Pinnock Esquire has been doing, and she too will be hard to replace. So we're looking for persons who with that kind of caliber, hardworking, serious about developing the diaspora, and also developing Jamaica, and working and giving back to Jamaica.
Now it's my understanding that they will continue in their roles until this election, which is, I want to mention again, it's April, the open period for nominations is April 15th through May 14th.
Yes.
And the website is, and we'll put it up on the screen for you.
Yes.
You want to repeat it for us?
The website is callingalljamaicans.org, callingalljamaicans.org, and just look for the link that will lead you to the election. And there you will find the link for the election, the nomination and the election. And by the way, in terms of announcement, on May 18th, we'd like to circulate all the nominees. And on May 23rd, we will be starting the voting. So the voting process will begin on May 23 and will continue through to June 7th in this region. Okay. All right, so June 7th, June 9th, June 7th in other regions. In our region is June 9th. So we will continue the election from May 23 through to June 9th. Okay.
From May 23rd to June 9th.
Yes.
You will be
voting.
You will be voting during
that
period.
Yeah, voting will happen during that period. So we'll go back to the same website, callingalljamaicans.org, and go to the election link, and that will take you through the voting process.
So is it going to be all electronic?
All electronic.
There will be no paper ballot?
No paper ballot this time, and there is a reason for that. Mm-hmm. We rarely discussed this long and hard, and felt that number one, we are in a technological age, and number two, it is very labor intensive to track ballots, paper ballots. Also, it works for far less control, because as you know, voter verification is not something that we have mastered yet in the diaspora movement, and so we are going to use a honor system. The likelihood of having votes that are not appropriate are greater if we carry voting by paper ballot approach. And so you could have stuff balloting among other stuff. So we felt it would be wiser to make the election integrous and the process fair, to go electronic, one person, one vote. We will track voting by IP address and I think the email address and other things, and so that the counting will be easier. It will be automated, and everybody's life will be easier. We do not want to hear the melee of who did what. If you go online, everybody has a cell phone. Most people have cell phones now. And if you don't have any of those electronic equipment, cell phones, laptops, computer, whatever, you could access that through a library, a public library in your area, and go to the website and do what needs to be done. So we felt that it would be much better and much efficient to go with electronic voting only.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's important.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that are not computer savvy.
Right.
Are you offering any assistance, or is there any guidance being given to that segment of the population?
Well, we believe that the process is simple enough, but we will put a number on the website just in case there are concerns and there is a need. That is a very good observation. We will put something on the website so that you could call during the voting period if you have a problem. We do have a 1-800 number that we use for diaspora matters, and we can make that available if we have somebody who is having any computer-related concerns.
Okay, this is some very good information, Reverend Bennett. Knowing that the elections, the nomination process is open from April 15th until May 14th. So what happens between the period between May 14th and May 23rd? You're actually going to start the voting May 23rd through June 9th. So is that what's going to happen?
Well, during that, so as you notice, there are some nomination requirements, the various forms that need to be turned in, and hopefully, I want to put this out there, that you are not officially nominated until you send in your 500 word essay, till you turn in your reference form and you turn in your personal character forms. All of that, your photograph, all of the requirements which are on the website will have to be met before you're considered a nominee. Now, that you talk about the time between the closing of nominations and the announcing of the nominees, we would like to make sure that everybody is in and verified before we post them. And just so I don't miss this, the announcement for the newly elected ABM alternate and the future leader will be on June 12th. So we will make an announcement on June 12th. But we have to make sure that we do the proper electronic responsibilities, make sure that everything ballots were counted and everything online. And that's why we put time between each activity in the electoral process.
Now, you previously did a presentation on the role of the church at the 6th Biennial Conference.
Yes, I did.
Can you talk somewhat about that, starting with the challenge, where you spoke about the inability of the diaspora to fulfill its true potential.
Right. I've studied in the diaspora since the early 90s, and I've lived in the diaspora for 16 years. And I'm of the opinion that the diaspora is so highly potentialized as a resource for the development of Jamaica, it stands to reason that we need to re-engage the diaspora to help Jamaica. But what I'm seeing in the diaspora, a lot of people outside of the diaspora sees the diaspora as resource, but they do not realize that there is a lot of work that needs to be done.
That is a tremendous challenge,
Yes.
you know, for the church to draw these youth into its programs. Let's say, how do you do that? How do you accomplish that?
Well, my suggestion is to engage community from a Christian community development perspective. And I want to give a shout out to the Christian Community Development Association, CCDA, as a workable model for Jamaican churches in the diaspora. And through this model, we need to see community through the eyes of Jesus. We need to see community as made in the image, people made in the image of God, and needing the help of God, and we being the conduit through which they will be helped. But in terms of practicality, that's the theology, the practical or praxis, also praxis. You see, problem with the church is that we focus a lot on orthodoxy, but there is a need to focus on orthopraxis. And I'm recommending that in this approach we can do a number of programs, family counseling, when I talked about the whole question of assimilating coming from Jamaica. How do they do that? Who speaks to them about how to navigate the system, the school system, the work system, the police, security, and all that? Who teaches young Jamaicans and families who are migrating to the U.S.? It's a culture shock. And so if we can develop in our churches the opportunity for families to come in for counseling, to be mentored, to be coached, to be encouraged into assimilating and navigating America as a phenomenon, then that will help. And then we're thinking about training in financial literacy. Migrating to a new country, you need to understand how money works. And a lot of people come and they get frightened, so to speak, and they go out there, get these credit cards, they max them out, and before you know it, they're in a ton load of debt, and they can't, help. Now, if Jamaicans in the diaspora are not financially, there's no way that they can give back to Jamaica. They'll be spending it all on debt servicing. They were talking about immigration services. Some of the, why should you be a citizen? What are the benefits of citizenship? How do you become a citizen? How do you become a proper green card holder? What do you do if you find yourself in certain immigration situations? Who do you call? Are there services available? The church can offer that kind of service. We're talking about college readiness. I give you a personal story. In the church that I pastored, there was a young lady who came from Jamaica. I noticed her, and I said to her, so what are your plans here in the United States? And she told me, she said, I want to become a CNA, a certified nursing assistant. So I said, okay, that's good. So is there a reason why you want to be a CNA? She said, well, because I want to make some money. So I said to her, yes, but what about other things? I said, what did you do when you were in Jamaica? She said she graduated from St. Jago High School from sixth form. I said, you graduated sixth form? Did you go to upper sixth? She said, yes. I said, so why would you come to America and try to do just a CNA? I'm sure, no, let me say it for the record, I have no problem against CNA. Some of my best friends and church mothers are CNA, and they are the most loving people on this earth, that they look after me as pastor and look out for others. But we need to encourage our young people to aim high. We need to encourage our young people to go further. And we were able to counsel her.
Can you explain to the viewers who don't know what sixth form is? The significance of what you're saying?
Oh yes, well in the Jamaican context, so Jamaica operates on a British system, and in that system we have a system that takes them beyond high school. It's more like it's comparatively it is like a diploma in college, college diploma, a 2-year diploma. So post high school, they go on to in specific schools. You know, it's not anybody that aspire to this level. It's a very high level in our country. And I was taken aback that this student came.
She had the potential to
she
be a
had the
doctor.
potential to be a physician, to be rather than a CNA. But because she was not guided at the time, she felt that what she needed to do was to go for this particular level, when really she could aim higher. She had the capacity, the acumen, as it were, the intellectual acumen, to become more than she aspired towards. And so in that experience, we counseled her about college readiness. You know, the church was able to work with her, connect her with people in our local universities. So suffice to say that she followed our guidance, became a student at the local university, and will be graduating soon with a degree in business.
You know, Reverend Bennett, you know, this leads me to want to talk about your other role as a consultant.
Yes.
Because it's about leadership.
Yes.
It's about leadership training.
Absolutely.
It's about leadership development. Let's talk about that, because this is a prime example of the need for that kind of guidance, that kind of information. Can you talk about what you do with your consulting practice?
Yes, so I run a consulting firm, Andrew Bennett Consulting LLC. And Andrew Bennett Consulting, the aim of Andrew Bennett Consulting is to train and equip the next generation of leaders to aim, aspire, and achieve. To aim, aspire, and achieve. Our goal is to work with young people to become their best selves. So I am a certified John Maxwell teacher, trainer, and coach. So I'm into leadership development with adults and young people, and I'm into personal and professional coaching. So we work with individuals and companies to achieve their best, to move out of that position where one feels stuck, to get to their goals and their dreams. Often people hit snags in their lives and they define themselves by their failure, they define themselves by their limitation. But what we do as a consulting solution is to help people to move forward, to help people to grow. So we're into personal productivity, etc. Now, we do this through many different solutions. We offer leadership training seminars, we offer workshop, we have to offer mastermind groups, we offer personal coaching, and we offer group coaching. So we work with anybody from an individual to a municipality, say a mayor and his cabinet. How do you know what is leadership? So leadership is influence, and what a lot of people don't realize is that everything rises and falls on leadership. And so we have to train young people in leadership, we have to train adults in leadership, and we have to work with people. I asked a question of a client recently, what is your favorite sport? The person said it was basketball. So I said, let's talk about Michael Jordan. He's a gifted talent, yes, in basketball. She said, absolutely. I said, well, do you think Michael Jordan would have been where he is if he didn't have a coach? And she said, absolutely not. And he said, exactly. It doesn't matter what you know and how much you know. One needs someone that journeys with them to encourage them, to motivate them, to help them to walk into the strengths and giftedness that they have. You know, often people are come from backgrounds that look down on them and demean them, and so people go with a lot of poor self-esteem and poor self-concept. And coaching through Andrew Bennett Consulting help people to overcome these obstacles.
Now I want to ask,
yes,
the young lady that you spoke about previously who wanted to be a CNA,
yeah,
did you embrace her into your program? Did you draw her into your?
Absolutely. At the time, so I flow in different circles. So in this context, it was pastoral care. Mm-hmm. So I leveraged my coaching skills, my leadership training, and gave the kind of guidance which would have led her into a context where she was empowered as a young woman to accomplish and achieve her best self. And that is what Jesus is about. It is about becoming your best self, spiritually, emotionally.
What did she end up?
She ended up doing a degree at the local university in business administration, mm-hmm. and is now getting ready to graduate. I think she might be graduating this year or next year, and I'm so proud. Mm-hmm. I'm so proud. And she's only one of such persons. We have young men who have had similar challenge, coming from Jamaica, coming into the church community, thinking, okay, I'm just good enough to do X, when really they are gifted and talented. And so much of our gifted and talented young people are lost in the diaspora to gang and violence and drugs because they lack guidance. And I believe the church is uniquely poised to help.
So you covered, you pretty much identified in the portion of inhibiting the needs,
yes,
in the diaspora. And so in the conceptual framework where you spoke, it was in section 3 where you spoke about the conceptual framework for church engagement.
Yes.
Can you give us an overview there?
Well, in order to have this happen, we have to have as the conceptual framework a biblical basis. You see, the opportunity to engage diaspora transformation, which leads to nation building, lies in the needs that are there. And so the biblical precedence is a conceptual framework. The biblical precedence for the execution of the role of the church as catalyst towards spiritual, social, and economic transformation is, as I said before, the Jeremiah text and the Nehemiah text. All right? So the paradigm then is that the church assumes a role to facilitate Christian community development rather than just singing and clapping and shouting, right? And carpet and chandelier and nice pews. It is helping community to grow, helping community to accomplish its talent, to develop talent. It means then that we're going to pursue the biblical mission of Christian discipleship through a program that moves people in the diaspora from betterment to development. You see, we're into this business of giving a fish. And giving a fish does nothing, really. It might, and it does little, rather, in that it helps the person to be fed for a while. But how about helping the person to learn how to feed themselves? So we move to development. In fact, we want to move them into development to the point where the persons become promoters of their own well-being. So we're talking about developing the entrepreneurial spirit, for instance, building business and developing in that way. Then we're talking about launching community development corporations from the bases of the church.
family development center, economic development divisions, advocacy for career guidance. We're talking about personal and professional development and social entrepreneurship. The church in the diaspora can do a lot more. And one would hope that there's a rethinking of the biblical text. There is a reason why the church is empty in many places and the community is filled. It is because we need to understand that we need to earn the right to speak in the lives of people. And it gives us a chance when we engage people where they are in the community to develop them, to share the gospel with them. If you observe Jesus has always connected with people at the point of need.
Reverend, I was fortunate that I had a good foundation in my upbringing in the church.
Yes.
And I can't imagine what I would be like if I didn't have
the church.
The positive experience that shapes individuals from having that foundation transcends into their growth and their development significantly in all areas, so I'm not saying you're preaching to the choir, but
maybe I am.
But what you're saying has great impact, and I can really identify with it. I could talk to you more, but the show is only an hour.
I understand.
And I appreciate very much this opportunity that I've had to speak with you. All the various roles that you have, the leadership that you have been providing in the diaspora, the leadership that you will continue to provide with the day of prayer and fasting is to be commended, and all your efforts. I've supported you in the past, and I will continue to support you in the future. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I appreciate you coming on to the Jamaica Diaspora Show. We're going to put out the information about the election. We're going to put on our screen the information that you wanted to present with regards to the election, how the people can contact you, or
yes.
The 800 number. We'll put all of that out there for you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Really appreciate it, Mark.
And so that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for the Jamaica Diaspora Show with Reverend Andrew Bennett. Join us next week, and we'll have more programming of interest to you and the wider audience.